Welcome to the deep dive. So AI, it's everywhere, right?
Right.
And maybe nowhere is it sparking more conversation and honestly, more questions than in the world of education.
Yeah, I mean, for all of you out there teaching right now or thinking about becoming teachers, it's a pretty wild time to be in education, don't you think?
It really is. I mean, this isn't just another tech trend that's going to fade away. AI is fundamentally changing how we think about teaching and learning.
Absolutely. And that brings a ton of exciting possibilities, but also a lot of uncertainty.
Exactly. And that's precisely why we're doing this deep dive today, to really dig into what's happening. We're going to look at how AI is already being used, like in your classrooms right now, what the future of education might look like, with AI becoming even more powerful, and how it's impacting something that's core to teaching, assessment.
We're drawing from a lot of recent research for this, looking at AI in education from different angles, what teachers need to know, and how students at all levels are experiencing this shift.
We'd really want this deep dive to be helpful, practical even. So hopefully by the end, you'll feel informed and ready to navigate this rapidly changing world of AI in education rather than feeling overwhelmed by it all.
Sounds good. Ready to jump in?
Let's do it. So let's start with the here and now. How are students actually using AI right now, and how are teachers using it?
Mhm.
We came across this study from Buersdorf and others, published in 2025. They surveyed university students in the US, the UK, and Germany about their AI use. What did you find particularly interesting in their findings?
Well, one thing that really stood out to me, and something for you to keep in mind as you're working with your students, is this link they found between how much a student is interested in AI and how likely they are to actually use it. And that makes sense, right? If you're fascinated by something, you're going to spend more time with it.
Of course.
But they also found that this interest, when it's combined with a basic understanding of AI, what it is, how it works, what they call AI literacy, actually boosts students' AI self-efficacy.
AI self-efficacy. So that's like their belief in their own ability to use AI effectively.
Exactly. And this suggests that, if you, as teachers, can spark that curiosity in your students, help them develop a basic understanding of what AI is, it can really empower them to actually use these tools and feel confident doing so.
Makes a lot of sense. So you give them the knowledge, you give them the confidence, and they're more likely to dive in and use it. That's great. And this study also looked at different groups of students based on their engagement with AI. Can you tell us a bit about these different perspectives?
Sure. They found that students kind of fall into three groups. You've got the AI advocates. These students are super enthusiastic about AI. They're all in, and they're actively using AI in their studies.
So like the early adopters, the ones who are already playing around with ChatGPT and figuring out how to use it in their assignments.
Exactly. Then you have the cautious critics.
Yeah.
These students are a bit more hesitant, maybe a little skeptical about the value of AI or concerned about the potential downsides.
Yeah, like, is this really going to help me learn, or is it just going to make things easier? But maybe not in a good way.
Precisely. And then there's the third group, the pragmatic observers. They're kind of taking a wait-and-see approach. They'll use AI, but only when they see a clear benefit.
Like if it's going to save them time or make a task easier.
Right. And what's really fascinating is that these different perspectives exist even within a university setting. You've got this whole range of attitudes toward AI, even within the same age group and educational level.
So you're likely to see this same diversity of viewpoints in your own classrooms, whatever grade level you teach.
Exactly. And it's important to be aware of these different perspectives as you start introducing AI tools to your students. Not everyone is going to be on board right away.
That's a really good point. So we've talked about students. Now let's shift gears and think about how AI is changing teaching practices. We were looking at Choose 2023 Systematic Review. Did anything stand out to you there?
Well, one area where we're seeing AI being really integrated into teaching is in what's called adaptive teaching. And this is where intelligent tutoring systems come in.
Intelligent tutoring systems.
Yeah.
Remind me, what exactly are those?
So these are computer programs that use AI to personalize instruction for each student. And they're not like the old rigid tutoring systems you might remember, the ones that just drilled you on facts.
Yeah.
These newer systems are much more sophisticated. Like there's research by Luo in 2018 and Standen and others in 2020 showing how these systems can actually use sensors to figure out how students are feeling in real time. Like, are they getting frustrated? Are they engaged? And then the system adjusts the instruction based on that.
Wow. That's fascinating. So, like, if a student's struggling with a concept, the system could automatically offer a different explanation, or break the task down into smaller steps.
Exactly. It's like having a personalized tutor for every student. And it's not just about reacting to emotions either. AI can also be used to analyze student work, like essays or problem sets, and provide feedback.
So, like, the AI could actually grade their work.
Well, it's not quite at that level yet, but it can offer suggestions, point out areas for improvement, and even identify patterns in student errors that might suggest a need for additional support. Like, there's this really cool example from Bonatamba and others in 2020 where they developed an AI system that analyzes kindergartners' handwriting.
Kindergartners, wow.
Yeah. So it can recognize the specific characteristics of a child's handwriting, like how they form their letters, and then provide personalized feedback to help them improve. And there's also work being done on AI-enabled tools to support students with special needs. Like Vahabzadeh and others in 2018 developed these smart glasses that use AI to help autistic students navigate social situations. The glasses monitor the students' emotions and behavior and then offer prompts and cues to help them respond appropriately.
That's amazing. But I'm guessing there are still some limitations with these AI feedback systems, right?
Oh, absolutely. Like, one big limitation right now is that a lot of the feedback is still pre-prepared. It's not fully personalized to each student's unique needs and learning style. It's more like the AI is pulling from a bank of pre-written comments.
So it's not quite like having a conversation with a teacher where the feedback is tailored to that specific student and their work.
Right. But it's definitely a step in that direction. And the potential is there, as AI gets more sophisticated, to develop truly personalized feedback systems.
That would be huge. And, UNESCO put out a really helpful quick start guide in 2023 all about ChatGPT for higher education. They had some really practical examples of how teachers and students are using AI tools. What were some of the highlights for you?
Oh, there are a lot of great examples in there. Like they talked about Socratic opponent AIs, which are these AI systems that can help students develop their argumentation skills.
So, like, the AI plays devil's advocate, challenging the students' arguments and forcing them to think critically.
Exactly. And there are collaboration coach AIs that can help students work together more effectively on group projects, and guide on the side AIs that can offer personalized support as students work through their course materials. They even mention study buddy AIs that can help students reflect on what they've learned.
And, of course, motivator AIs, which use games and challenges to keep students engaged.
Yes. They also highlighted the growing use of ChatGPT in language learning. Like, students can use it to practice their writing and get feedback on their grammar and vocabulary. And they can have conversations with the AI in different languages, which is really cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. So lots of exciting applications out there. Now, I'm curious, thinking about your own experiences and the experiences of other educators, what's the general feeling about these generative AI tools? Are teachers excited? Are they nervous?
Well, Guy Meyer and others did a study in 2024 looking at educators' awareness and sentiments towards generative AI. And they found that, it's a mixed bag. There's definitely excitement about the potential benefits. Like, teachers see how AI can save them time on things like lesson planning and grading. It can also be a great tool for brainstorming ideas and coming up with new activities.
So there's this sense that AI could really lighten the workload for teachers, giving them more time to focus on what matters most, interacting with their students.
Exactly. But there are also concerns. Like, one big concern is cheating. Will students use AI to write their essays or do their homework for them?
Yeah, that's a big one.
There's also a worry that over-reliance on AI could stifle students' creativity and critical thinking skills. Like, if they're just getting answers from an AI, will they still learn how to think for themselves?
Right. And there's always the concern that the AI might generate incorrect information or even make stuff up entirely.
Exactly. And it's interesting, this study found that computer science instructors tend to be more positive about AI than teachers in other subjects.
Well, that makes sense. They're probably more familiar with the technology and understand its capabilities better.
Exactly. But even among computer science instructors, there's still this tension between the potential benefits of AI and the potential risks.
Yeah, it's a balancing act. And it's something that all educators are going to have to grapple with as AI becomes more integrated into education. So AI is here. It's being used by students and teachers, and there's a lot of excitement, but also some trepidation. Looking ahead now, what might the future of education look like as AI continues to evolve, especially these generative AI tools?
Well, this is where things could get really interesting. That same study by Guy Meyer and others talked about how generative AI has the potential to fundamentally change curriculum design and assessment. Like, they suggested that we might see a shift away from teaching basic coding skills.
Really? Why would we move away from coding? I mean, that seems like a pretty essential skill in this day and age.
Well, the thinking is that as AI takes over more of the routine coding tasks, the real value will be in teaching students how to think critically about code, how to use AI tools effectively, and how to solve complex problems using AI.
So it's not about just knowing how to code. It's about understanding the broader implications of code and how to leverage AI to solve real-world problems.
Exactly. And when it comes to assessment, they highlighted the need for new methods that can better prevent plagiarism and really gauge a student's deep understanding of a subject. Like,
Hmm.
the traditional essay or research paper might not be the best way to assess learning anymore if students can just have an AI write it for them.
So how do you assess learning in an age of AI? That's a big question.
It is. And there's a growing recognition that we need to teach students how to use these large language models like ChatGPT in a productive way, like not just relying on them to spit out answers, but actually using them as tools for learning and thinking.
So it's about teaching them to be critical users of AI, not just passive consumers.
Exactly. And, Yang Zhao in his 2024 paper really pushes this idea of a fundamental transformation in education. He talks about moving beyond just integrating AI into the existing system and really rethinking what education should look like in an AI-powered world.
That's interesting. So what does he propose?
Well, he argues that we should be moving towards personalized learning journeys that are tailored to each student's unique strengths, passions, and learning styles. And he sees AI as a key enabler of this kind of personalized learning. Like AI can analyze vast amounts of data about a student's learning patterns and preferences and then create a learning experience that's optimized for them.
So instead of a one-size-fits-all approach, every student gets a learning experience that's tailored to their individual needs.
Right. And he also emphasizes the importance of teaching students how to find and solve problems, as opposed to just solving problems that are given to them.
So it's not just about being good at problem solving. It's about being able to identify the right problems to solve in the first place.
Exactly. Because in an AI-driven world, that's going to be a crucial skill. AI can help us solve problems, but it's humans who need to decide which problems are worth solving.
That's a great point. And what about the role of the teacher in this future of education?
Well, Zai and others in their 2021 paper suggest that the role of the teacher might shift from being a knowledge transmitter to more of a knowledge organizer and facilitator of learning. Like instead of standing at the front of the classroom lecturing, teachers might be more like guides, helping students navigate their own personalized learning pathways.
So it's less about direct instruction and more about creating a learning environment where students can explore and discover for themselves with a teacher there to support them along the way.
Exactly. And, a big part of that support is going to be helping students develop those critical thinking and information literacy skills that are going to be so essential in an AI-powered world. Like, how do you evaluate information that's generated by an AI? How do you know what's reliable and what's not? These are going to be crucial skills for students to develop.
Absolutely. And it brings us to a topic that's on a lot of educators' minds right now: assessment. How is AI impacting assessment practices? And what does the future of assessment look like in an AI-powered world?
Yeah, this is a big one. The challenges that AI poses to traditional assessment methods are huge. Like, UNESCO's 2023 guide pointed out that the ease with which students can now generate text using tools like ChatGPT really requires us to rethink how we assess learning.
So those classic essays and research papers, they might not be the best way to assess student understanding anymore.
Right, because if a student can just have an AI write their paper for them, how do you know what they've actually learned?
Yeah, that's a problem. So what are some of the solutions?
Well, UNESCO suggests a few things, like they emphasize the importance of maybe replacing some written exams with more in-person assessments, where students have to demonstrate their understanding in a more authentic way. They also talk about changing the format of questions to focus more on higher-order thinking skills, like analysis and evaluation, which are harder for AI to replicate.
So asking questions that require more than just regurgitating facts or summarizing information.
Exactly. And they also stress the need to update academic integrity policies to specifically address the use of AI. Like, what's considered cheating when students have access to these powerful AI tools?
Yeah, we definitely need clear guidelines on that.
Absolutely. And it's not just about preventing cheating. It's also about teaching students how to use AI ethically and responsibly in their academic work. Like, when is it okay to use AI? When is it not okay? How do you cite AI-generated content? These are all things we need to be talking to our students about.
It's about helping them develop that ethical compass for navigating this new world of AI. And this brings us to Silik's work in 2023 on the Intelligent TPAC framework. This framework really dives into the ethical considerations of using AI in education.
Right. So the TPACK framework, you might be familiar with it. It looks at the intersection of technological knowledge, pedagogical knowledge, and content knowledge. And Selick expanded this framework to include ethical knowledge, creating what they call intelligent TPACK.
So it's not enough for teachers to just know how the AI works and how to integrate it into their teaching. They also need to understand the ethical implications.
Exactly. And this means being able to critically evaluate AI-based decisions like, is this AI system fair? Is it transparent? Is it accountable? Is it inclusive? These are all questions that teachers need to be asking.
So it's about having that critical lens, being able to look beyond the shiny new technology and ask those tough questions about its impact on students.
Right. And Selick's study found that while having a strong technological knowledge base is important, it's really that pedagogical knowledge, the understanding of how students learn, that's crucial for effectively using AI in education.
So it's not just about the technology, it's about how you use it to support student learning.
Exactly. And this is especially important when it comes to assessment. Like, you need to understand why an AI is giving a particular score or feedback to a student. You can't just blindly trust the AI.
You need to be able to interpret the AI's output and use your professional judgment to make sure it aligns with your pedagogical goals.
Yeah.
And, Mamarian and Dolek did a review in 2024 looking at assessment with AI, and they found a really interesting gap in the research.
Oh, what was that?
They found that most of the research on assessment for learning, using assessment to actually improve learning, hasn't really caught up with the rise of AI.
So, like, we're still thinking about assessment in very traditional ways, even though AI is changing the game completely.
Yeah, so they were trying to fit a square peg into a round hole.
Exactly. But they also highlighted the huge potential of AI to really improve assessment practices. Like, imagine being able to get real-time data on student learning, all powered by AI. You could track student progress, identify areas where they're struggling, and provide personalized support all in real time.
That would be amazing. It'd really allow for that personalized learning experience we were talking about earlier.
It would. But, there are still challenges. Like, there's a lack of trust in these AI-powered assessment systems. And there are concerns about fairness and bias, like you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, those are big issues that need to be addressed. And there's also the issue of classroom norms and teacher-student relationships. Like, how do you integrate these AI systems into the classroom in a way that doesn't disrupt the social dynamics and the important relationships between teachers and students?
That's a really important point. We can't just throw technology into the classroom and expect it to magically fix everything. It's about finding ways to use technology to enhance human connection and create a more supportive learning environment.
Well, we've covered a lot in this deep dive. It's been a whirlwind tour of AI in education. Any final thoughts for our listeners?
I would say the main takeaway is that AI is here to stay. It's already changing education in profound ways, and those changes are only going to accelerate in the years to come. And while there are definitely challenges and concerns, there's also tremendous potential for AI to make learning more personalized, engaging, and effective for all students.
So it's not about fearing AI. It's about embracing the possibilities and figuring out how to use it in a way that benefits both teachers and students.
Exactly. And it's an ongoing conversation. We need to keep talking about these issues, keep researching, keep experimenting, and keep working together to create an educational system that's ready for the AI-powered future.
On that note, here's a final thought-provoking question for you, our listeners, to ponder. As AI continues to evolve, how will our very understanding of what it means to learn and demonstrate knowledge need to adapt? This is a big question with no easy answers, but it's a question that we all need to be thinking about as we navigate this new world of AI in education. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Thanks, everyone.